All right, good evening, everyone, and once again, welcome to the Bladensburg Town Council meeting and happy Valentine's Day. As I said in the work session, I appreciate all the love from the community members who are spending their Valentine's Day with us, not just for the work session, but you're here for the 7 o'clock meeting. That is a lot of love and a lot of dedication, so thank you. We are now called to order. And the first item on the agenda is the opening prayer, which will be done by Council Member McBride. But before we open with prayer, I just want to ask for a moment of silence for one of our sweet residents who passed away, Mrs. White. Many of you know she was a very long time resident of this town. And I just miss seeing her like at things like the Yule log and just her beautiful smile, her very warm temperament will truly be missed. And we still want to continue to offer our sincerest condolences to the Whites family. So if you wouldn't mind just bearing with us for a moment of silence for Mrs. White. Thank you. And now we'll turn it over to the opening prayer by Councilmember McBride. Councilmember McBride, we can't hear your audio. I'm so sorry. We can see you turned off. You unmuted, but we're not hearing anything. No. Um,
It might be on her side because I have her
yeah.
open.
So, council member, next to the microphone where you can mute and unmute, there's a little caret pointing up. If you click on that, you can select which microphone to direct your audio to. So you may have to do, it may say microphone array or whatever your computer is labeled as.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, sorry for that.
That's all right. Thank you. Um, Again, good evening, everyone. Um, Along with Ms. Dottie White, could we still please remember the family of a former mayor, Kevin Ward? There was another resident that council member Route told us that passed away a little while ago. Also, I can't think of her name, but we have had quite a few residents to be sick from COVID and also to pass away. So let us just keep our hearts and minds focused on them, even the young man that passed away. In that, I'm saying, dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. This is the day that you have made. We thank you for all that have assembled for this meeting. We ask you to remember the bereaved families today. We ask you to remember those that are sick and shut in. I pray that you will give them strength, that you will give them healing. I pray for the the council members and everyone assembled, Chief Collington, all of his staff, everyone. I pray that you keep us protected, keep us safe from hurt, harm, and danger, seen and unseen. I pray that you give us unity and give us strength, that we make wise decisions, and that the council will remain assembled together in unity so that we can benefit the residents of Bladensburg. I ask you to remember us all. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Councilmember McBride. And the next item we have on the agenda is a little difficult to do, so bear with us. Vito, can we see the flag behind your shoulder so we can do the Pledge of Allegiance?
And try to get it stretched out for you too.
Awesome. Thank you.
I have a flag for
And
you.
Oh,
oh,
there we
thanks.
go.
Even
Thank
better.
you.
I like that one better. Thank you,
All
Rich.
right. Councilmember Brown, you're unmuted. You want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Already,
Okay.
I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to
to
the
the
flag
flag of the
of the
United
United
States
States
of
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 America
America.
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
Republic.
for
For
which it
which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands.
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
Visible.
with
With
liberty
liberty.
and
Justice
justice
for
for all.
all.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. All right. At this time, may I have a motion to approve tonight's council meeting agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Council Member Rout. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. At this time, I know Chief Collington, there was a note just because of the virtual nature that we couldn't do our traditional promotions tonight, but just want to turn it over to you to just speak to um, the awesome work and leadership that you're cultivating in the police department by way of promotions.
Thank you, Mayor. Uh, Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, residents, and colleagues. I want to say happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Um, and just get right into, we've been really busy trying to backfill positions that were vacant for a period of time, and also to just acknowledge the leadership and the competency and abilities in our staff, where we were able to promote several individuals to a higher leadership stance. So I'll start with the promotees first. So we promoted Sergeant Maria Ramirez to sergeant. She will be head of our continue to work in our criminal investigations division, as well as she will have oversight over our CAT team, our community action team. Sergeant Patrick Thompson will remain. He was promoted to sergeant. He is a very important and vital part of our leadership and training. As I shared with everyone earlier about the Police One training, he is very passionate about putting training programs in place. So he will remain as our training, our policy and standards manager, as well as help out in patrol. I'll move to our corporals. Corporal Dwayne Humphreys, Corporal Cedric Tanksley, Corporal Daryl Tompkins. Um, those three individuals were promoted to the rank of corporal. They will remain in the patrol division, with the exception of Corporal Tanksley. He will remain in our community action team, where he does a fantastic job building programs and strengthening relationships, especially with our young people. He is a great resource to this community. Um, we made Officer Gerald Pickering acting corporal. He's doing a fine job over in the patrol side. And then we promoted PFC Ty Tinsley to the rank of PFC Private First Class. He has shown proficiency in his skills and ability in his duties. Um, then we did two hires. Um, we hired Mercix um, Predomino. Uh, Mercix began her relationship with the town of Bladensburg as a resident with her parents and siblings. She became a police explorer while attending Duval High School. She became a part-time intern working under the supervision of the former marketing coordinator, Ms. Diamond McDowell. Mercers was hired as an emergency communications officer with the Bladensburg Police Department under the supervision of Ms. Kimberly Green. Mercers is currently a student at the Prince George's Community College, where she's pursuing her associate's degree in criminal justice. Then we also hired um, administrative aide Ray Jeffries. Ray started his career with the town of Bladensburg as an intern, working under the supervision of former marketing specialist Miss Diamond McDowell. Ray is hired as the administrative assistant with the community action team under the supervision of Lieutenant Kurt Gilbert and Sergeant Maria Ramirez. Ray earned a Bachelor of Science degree from Bowie State University in business administration with a concentration in marketing. We also hired a police officer, Miss Asia Thornton. Uh, Miss Thornton joined the Bladensburg Police Department from the City of Baltimore Police Department. She is a 3-year veteran of the Baltimore Police, and as she was assigned to the Patrol Division. She's looking forward to building relationships with the residents, seniors, and youth in Bladensburg. And lastly, we hired uh, Code Enforcement Officer, Miss Tomai Tolliver. Uh, Ms. Tolliver joined the Bladensburg Police Department from the Internal Revenue Services as an auditor. She earned a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Maryland with a concentration in public health. We are pleased to announce that our code enforcement section is fully staffed. Tamar is under the direct supervision of our code enforcement supervisor, Mr. Roger Reinhardt. And one thing I can say additionally, then I'll be done, is when we go out and try to recruit the backfield, we want to make sure we bring the right people to the town of Bladensburg to provide services to our community based on the needs. And I think these individuals that I just mentioned, the promotees, as well as our new employees, um, I think speaks volume. And we talked about our robust youth program. Mercix is a prime example of bringing someone up from the community through the youth programs and then cultivating her to become a full-time employee with the town of Bladensburg. Thank you.
That is wonderful news. Thank you so much, Chief, for that update, and congratulations to every officer that you listed here. Also want to take the time to welcome the newest employees as well to our team. And just, Chief, appreciate your leadership and really moving this department in the right direction. And as you stated, making sure we get folks who are the right fit for our community. So kudos to you, along with those officers. And congratulations, Officer Reinhardt. You've got a full house now. Thank you for hanging in there. I'm sure it's been challenging, but you even handle all the challenges with a smile. And I don't want you to think that it doesn't, go noticed. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you.
And any comments from the council before we move on? Okay. The next item is the approval of the minutes, but as with the work session, we'll have to table this until our next meeting. The next item is for our town clerk, Mr. Charnovich, the public comments.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I'll echo the sentiments of others who said Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. So this evening we have 4 public comments that were received in advance of the deadline this afternoon. The first one is from Reggie Bagley. Good afternoon. I would like to address the mayor and council at the meeting on February 14th concerning traffic issues on Taylor Street. Taylor Street is a one-way street, and we are seeing very increased frequency of cars and even Amazon delivery vehicles coming down Taylor the wrong way. I have made numerous calls to the police department to report this, and I unfortunately have not seen any change in the traffic pattern behavior. There are numerous children who live and play on the street, and I would not want us to be in a situation where we have to react to a tragedy before we take the matter more seriously. I would like to speak to this and put my concern formally on the record. Thank you, Reggie Bagley. Our second comment this evening is from Mr. Steve Whites. The last week of December, my wife started coughing, but we could not find a COVID test anywhere. The drugstore said we could make an appointment to get tested a month later. Then my wife coughed all night and was so weak she could not walk across the room. The hospital emergency room took her in and stabilized her and put her on oxygen and steroids. There were 50 people in wheelchairs lined up in the hallway waiting to see a doctor. The hospital was so busy I could not get much information over the phone, and my wife was so weak she could only talk for 30 seconds on the phone. She had COVID and pneumonia that developed into widespread sepsis infection. They were giving her 100% forced oxygen, but her body only had 70% oxygen. You should have at least 94% oxygen in your body. They allowed me and my 2 grandsons to wear a hazmat suit and go into the room with my wife. She was so weak she could not talk, but she opened her eyes just enough to see us by her side talking to her. We had 15 minutes with her before she passed away. Both my wife and I had the vaccine and booster, but my wife had a low immune system and she could not survive the COVID. I also got COVID, but I only had a bad headache for 2 days. I contacted our Ward 1 Town Council member, Jocelyn Rout, and expressed my concern that there were no COVID tests available to use before we finally had to go to the emergency room. Jocelyn brought the issue to our town council, and they decided to get COVID test kits for our town residents. I appreciate all of our town council and town staff have done to help us during this difficult time. My wife and I have lived in Bladensburg 47 years, and we raised our family here. We had many good years with my wonderful wife. I do not want to see anyone else suffer from COVID like my wife did. I am asking our town residents to please use our town and county vaccinations, masks, and testing sites to help prevent the spread of COVID. And Mr. White's emphasized that in bold, that final sentence to all those out there. Thank you, Mr. Steve Whites. Order here. Our third comment is from Ms. Susan McCutcheon. Mayor and council, town staff, and fellow Bladensburgers. Good evening. I hope everyone is doing well. The 2022 Maryland General Assembly is in full force. It has been hectic, tracking bills, testifying, and writing comments and emails to our senators and delegates. There are bills on environmental human rights, climate, environmental justice, equity and transportation projects, SC Maglev specific, and more. As part of the Maryland Coalition for Responsible Transit and a local activist, I have been extremely busy getting out the word about bills and how to participate in the process. I am concerned that the Senate is changing to in-person oral testimony only starting today, and urge people to write in asking that they move to hybrid, in-person, and electronic, or remain completely virtual as they have been to be consistent with House guidelines. Whatever is best to engage the most people, exclamation point. Please be sure to become involved and not sit on the sidelines, later complaining the legislators are not doing what you want. They may not end up doing your bidding, but it is on you to take action and say what you want. Involvement can start with Bladensburg because local engagement is the heart and soul of government of the people. For example, join the committees the town is advertising to have some input. I will close by again thanking Mayor James for unwavering support of our SC Maglev opposition efforts. On January 26th, she participated in a Zoom presentation and follow-on discussion on why the SC Maglev should not be built as part of a Maryland Coalition for Responsible Transit panel. We were invited by the Friends of the Earth Japan, and the meeting was sponsored by the Nashinaki Peace Academy. They are opposed to the SC Maglev being built in Japan. It is unusual for Japanese elected officials to be so interactive with residents. So our presence and in-depth knowledge of the issues as part of our grassroots efforts were notable. We learned from them as much as they learned from us about our concerns with the SC Maglev in our respective countries. On February 9th, she provided oral and written testimony in favor of a Senate bill cross-filled with a House bill to be heard on February 17th, prohibiting Maryland state appropriations for constructing the SC Maglev. The project sponsors have said they will not need and will not seek state funds. Strangely enough, though, they oppose the bill because they want to have the option to tap into state funds in the future just in case. She also taped a video for the coalition's February 10th annual meeting as one of several key elected officials who actively support our opposition to the SC Maglev in the Northeast Corridor, along with Senator Malcolm Augustine and Pam Beidel, Delegate Nicole Williams, and
Rich,
Prince
that's
George's
fine.
County Council members, Tom DeRonga and Jolene Ivy.
Mr. Chernovich, that's 3 minutes.
Thank you. Our final comment this evening is from Mrs. Carletta Lundy. Dear Mayor, Town Council, and Town Staff, happy Valentine's Day. The following is my public comment. In October 2021, I requested that Parkway Condominiums, 6011 Emerson Street in Bladensburg, Ward 2, be included for discussion on the council agenda. Therefore, it was added for discussion on October 18th under new business to discuss some of the exterior and interior common areas, issues, and concerns. For example, to name a few, repairing broken items, entrance door, cleaning or replacing rugs and carpet, lights, fixing mailboxes, overhangs, outside exterior concerns, etc. Is there any good news, updates since last year about when or any progress being made regarding issues at Parkway Condominiums? At the time, during the council session, I did report out and share with the mayor and council and appropriate staff what myself and Councilmember Blunt observed exterior and interior common areas. I also shared a YouTube video clip attached of the property from some time ago. In addition, I did speak with the mayor regarding my concerns for our residents and who I had reached out to in preparation for the council meeting to better understand next best steps and to see what could be done moving forward to help. Just for clarification, this public comment I did forward on to the mayor and council members, and she references a YouTube video clip that was forwarded on to everyone, so you can take a look at your convenience. And that was received only an hour or a couple hours before this meeting, so I'm sure that will be reviewed in due course. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. Thank you so much for reading the public comments, Mr. Charnovich, and thank you to everyone who took the time to submit those today. The next item on the agenda, or actually, I'm sorry, let me pause. So I did want to call out Ms. Tolliver. She was on the line, our new staff member, but Officer Reinhardt, she may have left already.
She had to jump off, but I do want to let the mayor and council know she started last Monday and she has been a great asset. She jumped into this role head on, and like I said, she is the one that is going to clean up this town with the parking issues. Let me tell you, because she is very enthused about taking care of making sure that all our vehicles have valid tags and everything. So we got to watch out for her. She came in well prepared.
That's that revenue authority background, right? That experience pays off. But again, please apologize to her because I didn't see her until after we moved on to the next thing and was hoping she could say hello. But hopefully as council members stop by the office during the week, they can at least get a chance to see her face to face, masked up, of course. But again, the next item on the list at this time is unfinished business, and want to turn this over to Town Administrator McCrory for the recap once again on the bond bill for the Bladensburg Municipal Center.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, as the council and citizens have access to a lot of information that was provided in the council packets, and I'm very grateful for the team effort that went into this, consolidating this information. As I mentioned in the work session, the town was invited to submit a bond bill and to get some information together in support of that to present to the Senator Zucker, who chairs the Capital Budget Subcommittee. So we pulled together the one-page fact sheet with lots of information, as well as I believe, 6-slide PowerPoint to sort of do a compare and contrast of what some of the challenges are with our current 50-year-old building, both on the police side and on the civilian side, and the diffuse nature of the police operations, what with Mr. Reinhardt and staff based, as well as the police operations unit across the street in the former 7-Eleven that we refer to as the town annex. So trying to weave together that narrative in a way to garner support through the state legislative process. And then lastly, Chief Collington had put together a PowerPoint sort of laying out a vision with a floor plan for both the police side and the town hall side. And so the main goal of getting this on the agenda, we then did have Senator Augustine submitted on the town's behalf the one-page info sheet that is at the first piece on your packets. That just has some rudimentary information, and that the punchline is we're asking for $1 million in support from the state of Maryland for what is anticipated to be a multi-million-dollar project. We're talking about $4 million at present, but hoping to sharpen our pencils as we flesh out the plans for that. So we have a tight timeline to get additional supporting documentation submitted to the state. Those are the blank pages in the council packets as well. And Mr. Tonelli had put together a proposed meeting with the town's engineer and some architects that they have been working with who've got some other experience with municipal buildings. I want to thank the council members for shouting out some of the other new municipal buildings in the work session, which was helpful because I have not yet made a road trip to visit some of those facilities, some of which are brand newly opened, and partly due to COVID and partly just those to the grindstone on town business hadn't made those field trips. But I would encourage folks individually to go make some of those site visits as quickly as you can, and I will commit to doing the same. So with all of that said, between now and March 7th, when we have to submit this, the absolute deadline for this fact sheet, the extensive information, we want to move that forward. We don't anticipate having a whole lot of broad council visioning, but again, this is still at a very high altitude, and we certainly, as any architectural plans, budgeting would be done, we know the council is going to be very, very engaged in this process if it moves forward with the bond bill process. And even if it doesn't, I think the staff, I will speak for myself rather than the staff, but having gotten ahead of steam on this project myself, I'm really excited about it. As you're aware, having done multiple tours with the town of Bladensburg over the past 20 plus years, it's really necessary, and I'm very excited about it. I think this is further along than it's been in any of the years that I've been involved with the town. So I'm really pleased with the team that we have here, both the council and the staff and the leadership. So I'm excited about moving this forward, and the ask here is for a vote for you all to endorse the products that you've got in front of you in concept, and sort of bless the town staff moving forward with the submittal of the ultimate documents for the state process.
Thank you, Mr. McGrory. And just really quickly, on top of being grateful to Senator Augustine, who's truly championing this for us, I also want to thank our co-bill sponsor, which is Delegate Diana Fennell, for her support with this as well. The strength of having both our state senator and one of our delegates is really going to help this project to be able to move forward. But before we move forward with a vote, are there any further questions from members of the council?
Mayor James.
Councilmember Rout.
Yes. So would this require us to financially have some skin in the game as it relates to the price tag? And do we have a thought as to a ballpark figure?
Well, thank you, Councilmember Rout. And it's a great segue. And I will give a nod in Mr. Tonelli's direction on that. As we are advancing towards the budgeting process for fiscal year 2023, I would think we certainly need to put skin in the game. I mean, ultimately, building a municipal center is to allow core local government functions. So any support from the state or other funders would be fantastic. But really, this is a kind of rubber meets the road area for the town government to decide its priorities in delivering public services by its facilities and the kind of workplace that you create to attract and retain staff. So with that said, as I said, the number we've thrown about has been in the $4 million range, but I think that is very basic conceptual number. The town owns the existing municipal properties that I've just described outright. So there is an opportunity that some of this could be financed with mortgages, traditional 15 or 30-year mortgages. There's bond financing through the municipal government. There's bond financing through the state. There's this state legislative capital budget bond finance process and the state bond bill. So there's a number of mechanisms where you could ask for external funding, but I think the town will absolutely need to fund a significant amount of this over time.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Rout. And Mr. McGroy, so just for clarity, because the council did previously vote to proceed with the bond bill initiative, your suggestion is that we also need to take a motion to submit the necessary paperwork that is part of that process?
I think, to keep this simple, I would say just validating the concept plans and the package that you have in front of you for submittal to the state, since it has advanced since your last vote. So when you tagged us to say move forward with this process, that's great, and the staff is actively doing that. But I think at every step of the way, we want to show that the council is highly engaged in this, and then you can pivot to our senators and delegates and their colleagues to say, yes, the elected leadership in the town is fully behind this. This isn't just some staff fantasy land about speculating about something that isn't ultimately going to be funded.
Fair enough. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Brown, and then we'll go to the vote if there are no other questions.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just real quick. And I think we can also talk to some of the other municipalities and look at some of their funding streams to see where, especially College Park over there, to see where, and some of the other ones, how creative they were and how they were able to get funding outside of the municipality having to bear the larger portion of the bill. That's all.
Yeah, that's a great question. I won't say which municipality, but in a very similar type of demographic was able to get some USDA funding to assist. So that's one example of resources that are out there. So thank you so much for that recommendation. And so seeing no other hands, is there a motion for staff to move forward with the submission of the Maryland General Assembly Legislative Bond Initiative paperwork as required by the state?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Seconded by, I'm sorry, I was jotting it down. Was that Route or Blunt? I couldn't tell because, okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you again for that presentation, Mr. McGrory. The next item is the budget matters, and we're starting with fiscal year 2022 budget, Ordinance 01-2022. This is the fiscal 2022 budget amendment, second reading, which for residents who may have missed the last meeting, this is to, one, allow the town to receive funding from the ARPA grant, and then that line item can actually be used for expenditures, which of course meet the qualifications of the ARPA grant funding. So just looking at a specific amount of money to go into the budget to be used for those necessary expenses. Mr. Tonelli, is this over to you, or Mr. Charnovich or Mr. McGrory? Who's on first? Okay. Mr. McGrory is pointing this way. So with boxes, and from where I'm sitting, that could be either Mr. Tonelli or Mr. Charnovich.
I was going to kick this one to Vito, only
Okay.
because I've done so much talking already. So Vito,
That's fine. That's fair.
It's fairly straightforward.
We haven't heard Vito's voice. Let's go for it.
Let me pull this up. Give me 1 second. I have like 20 screens open. Okay, so the budget amendment was all X's, I believe. So we're going to put a dollar figure in there to get us through this fiscal year. Now, we don't have set projects done, but we did have something just recently with the mass distribution and the test distribution. And those, of course, are qualified ARPA funds. But now there's they revised the guidelines again, so it opens it up even more. Pretty much, ARPA saying you can fund pretty much just about any government service now. There's a stipulation, you have to take like a one-time waiver saying we're going to do it, but we came up with, in discussion, going back to like the staff bonuses and everything, We felt that if that were to pass, or if any future projects, I mean, it's already through mid-February right now, so we have 4 more months of discussion. Is that right? 4 or 5 more months of discussion. So we want to put out $350,000 to put to be used this fiscal year. And if it's not used, then it just carries forward. But at least we have something on paper that, hey, we're going to go ahead and use this for this fiscal year. And
Great,
as
thank
you,
you.
and I'm sorry, and
Mhm.
as we talked about, there was no budget amount in there for ARPA, because this came in after the budget was struck, and we didn't know, it was still new and fresh, and we didn't have the final figures yet for the what was going to be given to the town. So a lot of that was a work in progress and wheels in motion. So and as Mr. McGrory said, we have until December 26th, December 2026, not 26, December 2026 to expend the funds. So at least we get things started with this right now.
Thank you for the overview, Mr. Tonelli. And then Mr. Charnovich, I guess we come to you for the second reading. You got your water ready?
I do. I do indeed. Thank you, Mayor. So, as was stated, I will read the second reading into the record of the Budget Amendment Ordinance, which is Ordinance 1 of 2022. An ordinance to amend the operating budget of the town of Bladensburg, Maryland for the 2022 fiscal year, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Whereas the town administrator of the town of Bladensburg has made a request to the mayor and council to amend the FY22 budget to reallocate funds as part of this fiscal year. And whereas the mayor and town council have determined that it is in the best interest of the town of Bladensburg to grant the request of the town administrator. And whereas the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg have determined that it's in the best interest of the town to pass this as a budget amendment ordinance at this meeting, February 14th, 2022, town council meeting. Now, therefore, be it enacted and ordained by the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg that the following amendments are made to the general operating budget for fiscal year 2022. Increase intergovernmental federal revenue by $350,000 for ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act funds. Create a new budget expenditure category for ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, funded in the amount of $350,000, which equals a net budget impact of $0. And be further enacted and ordained that upon passage, this ordinance shall be authenticated by the signature of the mayor and town clerk, and shall be recorded in a book kept for that purpose. In addition, this ordinance shall be published by posting a certified copy of it in the town hall for 10 days following its adoption, pursuant to Article 2, Section 209 of the Charter of the town of Bladensburg, Maryland, and will be effective the 14th day of February 2022 today. And that is it. That concludes the second reading. And I guess, Mayor James, we can both sign this under the assumption, if an affirmative vote is taken, we can sign it as soon as we can this week. So it's a lot easier whenever we're all in the room together, but here we are.
It is.
Virtually,
It is.
so.
It is.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Charnovich, for conducting the second reading of the budget ordinance. And so with that, I'll call for the motion to approve the ordinance 01-2022 for fiscal year 2022 budget amendment. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember McBride. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much, everyone. And Mr. Charnovich, I'll try to get by tomorrow to sign off on the final document so we can make sure to get that posted per our rules. The next item on the agenda falls under new business, and this is employee bonuses. Mr. McRoy, would you like to walk us through that?
Sure, Mayor. I had briefly touched on this during the work session. And as has been a discussion point among this body, both at its meetings and informally over the course of your public engagement with staff on the American Rescue Plan funding, and potentially in other venues. But both in the staff meeting, the business meeting, and the residents meeting, that many other jurisdictions have done bonuses for staff, particularly under the ARPA rules, the initial ARPA rules. Emergency services staff were eligible for these. And so in conversations with our colleagues from the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, we've heard many other ideas of how these types of bonuses have been conceived and deployed, and the eligibility requirements, et cetera. And so there was written up a piece, and I'll just read it into the record so you have an understanding of the parameters, and so it's clear to the public what's under consideration. The budget amendment that was just adopted obviously makes funds available that could fund this activity if approved by the council. So what was put forward was staff eligibility. Staff would be eligible for this service bonus if they meet the following conditions. They are employed by the town full-time as of, and I think I'm looking at an old version, and I'm sorry, I'm away from the office at the moment, but I believe that was put in as February 14th. Should you approve it today, they must be employed as of today. And that they've worked a minimum of sorry, I think the hours got changed too. Let me try and pull this up from my source document, but it says it requires a minimum number of hours, basically the equivalency of working 75% time if they were hired between January 1st and the present. And the intention there is that it would not make eligible any part-time employees who are just working minimal spot work would not be eligible for these bonuses. So they would have to have done a substantive amount of work. The calculation of the bonuses would be based so that it's scaled for the number of months you've served during the pandemic. Employees would receive a bonus if they've served that whole time. It's been 28 months from the start of the pandemic in March 2020 through the end of the current fiscal year. So assuming an employee stays through the end of the fiscal year, it would be $100 per month for that long-serving employee. And it would be scaled such that employees who came into town service subsequent to that would receive the equivalent of $100 per month of full-time employment since their hiring and through the end of the current fiscal year. So this obligation is not intended to go beyond the current fiscal year. So the maximum amount for any beneficiary would be $2,800. For all the present employees, Mr. Tonelli did some calculations as that was just described. The budget impact would be less than $100,000 townwide, and all of the eligible employees who could be funded out of the ARPA funds, and as was pointed out by the council member, with the changing guidance on that eligibility may have expanded to 100% of the staff. So taking the optimistic scenario, if 100% of that is funded by this federal grant to the town, would then not create a burden on the general fund for these. The goals of this are, of course, a reward for the employees for risking their lives during the pandemic coming to work, as has been noted. Something approximating a quarter of the workforce has been stricken by COVID, to our knowledge, and perhaps others as well, and some of their family members. So rewarding those employees for their risk of continuing to serve the community, and retention of current employees, potentially recruitment of future employees. This kind of show of support from the council, if you choose to adopt this, would send a very positive signal to employers, other employees who may want to come work for the town, And potentially, if the pandemic continues, this could be considered in future years as well under the ARPA funding model. So that's the proposal that's before the council with regard to the pandemic bonus. And if there are questions from the council, thoughts, or anything to add or contribute, I'd happily take those.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. McRory, for walking us through it. That was super helpful as far as laying out the expectations on how people would be eligible for a specific amount, and then also the total budget implication. And it's also good to hear the guidance has been broadened a little bit, so potentially all the funding could be covered through the grant, because in my mind, thinking about where things started, I was assuming we'd probably have to pay for some of this out of our operating budget. So it is good to have that sort of foundational knowledge. But want to open it up to my colleagues. I see Councilmember Rout's hand.
Thank you, Mayor James and Town Administrator McRory for presenting this. This is definitely something that I am interested in. As we were at MML, I heard of other jurisdictions that were using the ARPA funds to provide bonuses. And I did bring that back to colleagues, and I'm happy that we are now considering that for our staff who have risked their lives and their families' lives in serving our town. I do have one question. How are we encompassing mommy brain is happening. How are we encompassing a probationary period for employees that may or may not have stayed throughout the probationary period, but are still working in the pandemic? I did not understand that aspect of this bonus. So I'm interested in hearing that.
That's a good point, Councilmember.
Rout.
Sorry, Mayor, I just wanted to, I jumped in, but I apologize. Should wait to be recognized. Councilmember, I guess I would say, because it is targeted towards months of service, a probationary employee would have relatively fewer months of service. And this proposal did not differentiate between a new serving employee and a longer serving employee, or distinguish between probationary and non-probationary employees. I believe I'm speaking correctly, and Chief, you can give me a thumbs down if I'm wrong. I think the police department default probationary period is 18 months. Is that correct? And I'm getting a nod for that.
That's correct.
So those folks have been taking shifts and out doing calls and doing a heck of a lot of work. And I would say for the civilian staff as well, the risk of coming to work is a daily and monthly risk, not distinguished between probationary employees. But the point is well taken that such a distinction could be made if it was thought to be something you all wanted to do. Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation, Mr. McRory. Any further questions from the council before we call for the vote? Hearing none. So is there a motion to approve the proposed pandemic bonus effective February 14th, 2022, as outlined by the town staff and the documentation we received?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any further discussion? Mr. McRory, I see your hand, or was that from earlier? Sorry.
No, that's
Okay.
me. So Mayor, I just wanted to add, if the motion could be clearly restated to have effect for all employees or only ARPA eligible employees, that distinction, I'd like that part of the record.
Perfect. So
Madam
back
Mayor.
up. So the motion maker was Councilmember Rout, so I'm coming back to you.
Yes, I would like to provide an amendment to the stated motion on the floor to all employees.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by, wait, I'm sorry, because it was already on the floor, does it matter? Let me just make sure.
It does matter.
Yeah,
Councilmember
Councilmember
Brown will
Brown.
have to be in agreement with my amendment.
Yes, second.
Okay, thank
Thank you,
you. And
Council.
thank you both, Councilmember Brown and Councilmember Rout. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you all so much. And again, thank you to the staff who's really gone and served remarkably in some unprecedented times and continue to be there for not just the council and each other, but for our residents. We are truly, truly grateful and hope this shows you just a small token of our appreciation. Mr. McGrory, there was also another component to the bonuses. Did you want to address that?
Yes, if I may, I'd like to turn it over to the recommender, Chief Collington, if I may. And I want to say just before he describes this recommendation that I effusively and unhesitatingly support his recommendations, and I don't want to steal his thunder, so I might chime in with another sentence or two at the end about the two individuals.
Thank you, Mr. McGrory. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and colleagues and community. Since my arrival here in Bladensburg, I've tried to keep the morale, bring the morale up, and maintain it at a good level for our residents so that they aren't abused if they come across a officer that is not performing at the level we expect them to. We would take action against that. Conversely, if a employee goes above and beyond what is required of them of their job description, I'm also advocating for them as well to be recognized. And we do have staff and town employees across the board that go above and beyond and work extremely hard. But the two individuals that I want to recognize, these individuals, it's not just a recruitment that I recognize them for. I recognize this individual because of his commitment, his strong approach to his duties. I can't tell you how many people this individual has brought into my office to recommend that they get hired here. He's well spoken of by residents. He's fantastic. But keeping that in mind, he's also someone that I would like to keep here with the town of Bladensburg Police Department because of his temperament, because of his commitment. So I just believe in rewarding individuals that work hard and go above what their job description is. This individual doesn't have to go out and open his mouth and say, come work with the town of Bladensburg. But because he's proud of where he worked and he wants people with the same mindset like his, I value his recommendation. I value his referrals because he has brought the right people here. The other individual that I want to recognize is someone, and if Mayor and Council want me to name them, I will. But this other individual that I want to recognize is the individual that goes above and beyond. I had the individual send me just some of what they do. If I give you the job description and tell you everything that they do for me, you'll say there's no way this individual has time to do it. And I tell you, you're right, on the clock. This individual don't. This individual works on the weekend when they should be at home taking care of their family. But they, because of the commitment that they have for this organization and this community and the advancement of this community and this organization, they do what's not required of them. They do it because they care. And we have individuals that are passionate about serving this organization, that you don't want to see them go anywhere. Don't want to see these individuals fall in a position where I'm just going to do my job, 8 in the gate mentality. We don't want that. So I'm just a kind of person, and I'll steal a quote from Richard Branson, that owns Virgin Records. Richard Branson says, train your people good enough to leave, but treat them good enough they don't want to. And that means giving them a pat on the back. That means saying, I appreciate all your hard work. I appreciate you taking time to do this when you didn't have to do it. So this individual, second individual, is helps me with recruiting, helps me with public information, helps me with communication, make sure that all of our certifications meet the Maryland State Police requirements. Uh, this individual just goes above and beyond, more than just coming to work and taking on 1 or 2 additional tasks. That's not this person, because I wouldn't have put him in for that. I would say congratulations, or I appreciate you, so on a different level. But because they go above and beyond, when I read the personnel manual, and it says clearly, from time to time, there may be an employee who takes on a special project or extra work, where this employee takes on several extra projects and does an incredible amount of extra tasks that they do, and they're good at it. They put themselves out there. That one time, this individual even got sick trying to take on too much. And I'm asking the council to say, I understand we want policies, we want a recruitment. We don't have it here, but we do have this personnel manual that I saw where we can do this. And then it's at the discretion of the town administrator, who can say, well, I don't think that rises to that level. That's why I put in the letter and I said, or whatever amount you deem appropriate. So I came from an organization where there was a referral for recruitment. If you did one person and they got it hired, you got a certain amount. If you did it, put in for another type of non-sworn position, you got a couple of $100 less. So these are just small tokens to keep the morale up, to bring the right people to the organization. So I'm not asking for anything that's unusual. It hasn't been, to my knowledge, it hasn't been used before. But because I did my due diligence, I read the personnel manual, I found it. Here's another way we can say thank you to our employees. And, and I just say this is not something that I take lightly, because, we have officers do great jobs every day. We have our other non-sworn officers that do great job. But when you see the magnitude that these two people do every day in and day out, and don't ever back up from a task, or they swerve around from uh, making this place a better place to work, live, and visit. This is the reason why I'm recommending them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief, for laying out the case for the 2 employee bonus requests that you submitted to Town Administrator McGrory. I will call for a motion, and then we can, discuss it and then call for the vote to approve the 2 employee bonus requests submitted by Chief Collington for the 2 identified staff members. I won't say their name for personnel reasons. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Rao. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Brown. I'll now call for a discussion. And if I can just start off, a lot of us have been looking into this and just trying to be objective and see things from different perspectives and bouncing ideas off of each other. And I truly appreciate every council member that I've talked to just kind of get thoughts about it. I just want to share. So at my full-time job, we get annual bonuses. That's why I've been there 13 years, or one of the reasons why. And it's not in the $100 range. I'll just put it that way. But what also goes a long way with our staff is what we call these on-the-spot awards for the attaboys, the pat on the back, where something that wasn't on your goals for the year, a project or a crisis or a challenge arose, and someone had to rise to the occasion, not just to get it done, but to get it done in an exceptional way. And so this is how I view these kinds of bonuses. As Chief said, it's in our personnel manual. So, and I appreciate the fact that it is broad, because if we restrict this down to every little dot, every little T, inevitably it is going to not, it will not address every single scenario that's out there. And I like the fact that it is up to the supervisor, whether the recommendation comes from colleagues saying, hey, chief, this person, giving positive feedback about the great work because they're on the ground with that individual, and sometimes even noticing things that the supervisor may not notice. And that supervisor can say, I concur, I've also noticed some great things, and submit that to the town administrator. This process is in place. There's a reason why the department head can't just go ahead and do this on their own, so that we can have the conversation, recommend the amount for this kind of a notification. And at the end of the day, it just boosts the morale of the employees. And so we've already talked about addressing the awesome job that they've done in COVID, but there's other things that certain challenges and issues arise. And I just feel like these are the kind of on the spot congratulatory things that we should be doing to boost the morale. I see Councilmember Route's hand, and then I'll go to Councilmember Blunt.
Councilmember Blunt's hand was raised before mine. I want to yield to her.
Thank you for noticing that, Councilmember Blunt.
Yeah, I understand what all of you are saying. I mean, of course, I get my 1 year bonus. It's not in the hundreds, it's way more than that. However, I still am going to stay with, it still should be policies put in place, because then you'll get someone that's going to really abuse their privilege. So I'm going to still stand for what I say, but I do believe Chief, when he say he has employees that do this and do all the work, he knows his employees, he know what they do, but I still always say policy and procedures, you can't go wrong of someone taking advantage of something that has not been put in place. That's all.
Thank you, Councilmember Blunt. Councilmember Route, I think you were
Thank
next.
you,
I
Mayor
didn't see any
James.
other hands. Tell me if I'm wrong. I didn't see any others. Did you?
No, ma'am.
It's not showing up. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor James. So I have worked for local governments. I've contracted with federal governments. I've been in government for on and off 15 years. And that's why people come get a good government job, to be able to climb the corporate ladder, and bonuses lay a foundation on how they're able to do that. So I do agree with my colleague that policies and procedures need to be laid, but I also want to give another perspective. As in the grant world, you have an opportunity to have small mini projects to see if something will work. And as Chief Collington shared, that this has not been utilized since I've been living in the town for at least 10 years. I've never heard of a bonus coming to the council. And so I think this is an opportunity. This is a unique opportunity that we have to be able to try this out and see how can we build a policy, but then recognize the two employees are really doing great work for their colleagues. I've witnessed colleagues coming to these two employees, and I can't name them because of personnel reasons. Colleagues come to them for assistance and trust them with things that are going on. And that's the type of team that we want to build in the town of Bladensburg. We want to create an opportunity where Bladensburg cares. That's our tagline. We've been living up to that. And so in my family, we take an extra trip to a shopping center or something like that when somebody does well in our family. And I think that's what we need to continue to do. Not to say that everything is not, pretty right now, but we can take the time to work with our town administrator, our town clerk, Mr. Tonelli, our town treasurer, to build what this policy is going to do. That's why we are here as legislators, to create the policy and allow our staff and our town administrator to bring to us issues and concerns. I am very in favor of this request that's being brought to us. And I request that my colleagues support this with a favorable vote, because these two employees have really, they deserve this. And because we have not created a policy as the town council, they should not be penalized. I yield.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Rout. And so with that, I see no further hands and we'll go to the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you all so very much. And congratulations to both of the well-deserved individuals. We're so, so proud of the great efforts that you all have been putting forth in both of your roles. So kudos. The next item on the agenda is a bit of a return to Bostwick House regarding the restoration and the Maryland State Capital Budget request. Mr. Tonelli, I'm sorry, Mr. McGrory. It's getting late. I'm sorry, I'm tired.
Councilmember Brown's hand.
Council Brown has her hand raised.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes, I just want to kind of be a little timekeeper here. It's now 8:07.
Thank you. I did ask her to keep me on track. So thank you, Councilmember Brown, because we do not need to be here all night. Thank you for doing that.
We have quite a few, new business
Yes,
items to
so
go through. So, okay.
absolutely agree. And and even if we have to kind of shortcut the reports or something, but yes, thank you, Councilmember Brown. So awesome, Sergeant at Arms.
So,
yes, and Mr. McGrory.
So having received that little swat of encouragement from Councilmember Brown, lovingly meant, I know, on a Valentine's Day. Thank you. These last three items will be extremely brief, I hope. In your packets, you have extensive materials about the Bostwick House restoration proposal that is before the Maryland State, included in the Maryland State capital budget for $500,000. This is a very exciting opportunity to get some really transformative funding to address many of the significant defects in that antique property dating back to 1746. So it's got some major foundational structural problems, and we really think it's a gem for the state. It's on the National Register of Historic Places, and hopefully the application materials speak for themselves. The effort was really a credit to the partnership among these long-serving public employees and members of the town council who've been involved over many years, external leaders, as well as partners like the Amen Trust that has provided significant funding for gaps and some of the town's prior grantors. So with that said, we're just asking for the council to formalize its blessing of the submitted documents. And with that, hopefully a commitment to participate in the lobbying to make sure that both in the House of Delegates and the Maryland State Senate, this moves forward at a robust funding amount to eventually get to the governor's desk for signature and to the benefit of Bostwick. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGrory. So I'll call for the vote and call for comments during discussion. So is there a motion to approve the Bostwick House Restoration Maryland State Capital Budget request?
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember McBride. Any discussion? Before I see a hand raised, I do want to just thank all of our council members who have supported this effort. This would not even be a legislative priority if you all didn't prioritize this project. And I also, again, want to thank Senator Augustine because he is really pushing this forward. And the strategy with getting thus far was really to show this is not just a Bladensburg asset, but it's an asset for our state, for our county, and also the region. And I think in highlighting that story will help us get further grants to continue this process because it is going to be a long-term project moving forward. But and last but certainly not least, thank you to the staff who've been really helping to compile the documentation necessary, and also our partners from Amen Trust, AWS, University of Maryland. There's so many historical documents and things that people have had to go back and pull information from to help flush this out so that we have a good case here. And so this is an excellent example of the great collaboration that we're establishing here. So I just wanted to make sure to mention that. Councilmember Brown, I see your hand.
Yes, very quickly. And as you stated earlier, it's being co-sponsored with Senator Augustine by Delegate Diana for now. That's all. You mentioned it earlier.
You said Ivy on this one?
No, Delegate Fennell, co-sponsored.
Oh, that was the municipal center, not the Bostwick House, but I could go
okay, it's
back
not
and
the Boston
ask.
House. Okay.
I could.
Maybe I'm putting something out in the
I know you
atmosphere.
put it out there, so I will reach out to her tomorrow and see if we can make that happen. It will only strengthen. So thank you for speaking that into existence. But seeing no further hands, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you all so much. Next up, we have the Walkable Watershed Grant opportunity, which was discussed in the work session. We have an opportunity to partner with our port towns, sister cities, to get some grant funding to help with projects that improve our watershed, address sustainability and flooding mitigation, but also can be creative, like community gardens and different things that create walker safety and so forth. So what we discussed was whether or not the council would want to move forward with being a partner on this grant. Would be step one in having a vote in that direction. But then the next action item is we want to volunteer from the council to kind of be our leader, to get ideas and things and help work with Michelle and, you know, being the facilitator of being in the meetings, bringing information back to the council, helping to shape, you know, what the projects are that will ultimately be a part of this project, or at least the development of cycling down to what the final product will be for this particular grant project. So with that, is there a motion from the council to formally work with the Port Towns and Maryland, University of Maryland Environmental Finance Center on the Walkable Watershed Grant opportunity? Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you all so much. And I'm excited about this next opportunity regarding the tree canopy. So I will turn this over to Town Administrator McGroy. You're okay. I was like, wait, it was over here. Councilmember Rout.
I would like to volunteer to be the point person on behalf of the council for the Walkable Watershed Grant opportunity.
Excellent. Is everyone good with that? Excellent. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McGrory, our tree canopy line item.
Thank you. Patricia Hayes Parker reached out to me for support. She is the executive director of the Central Kenilworth Avenue Revitalization Community Development Corporation and has been very involved. She was formerly executive director of the Anacostia Trails Heritage Area when it was born and conceived back in the late 90s and early 2000s, and really just a dynamic leader in the micro region that surrounds Bladensburg. And she's offering to take the lead on this grant application. They've got a track record of getting funding from the Chesapeake Bay Trust to plant trees in Bladensburg. There's really no effort required by us other than not saying no, and in fact saying yes effusively would be my recommendation. So I asked the council to make a motion to support our partner organization moving forward to help restore the tree canopy in Bladensburg. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. McGrory. And you're right, they have been a tremendous partner. So council, I would ask for a motion to for the town of Bladensburg to formally partner with the Central Kenilworth Avenue Revitalization Community Development Corporation, known as CCAR-CDC, for the tree canopy project called Right Tree, Right Place program.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember McBride. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye. Aye. Any nays?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much. And next we have the staff reports, beginning with Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just, I'm going to piggyback my report on this to jump in at the beginning. So on behalf of Purnell Hall and the Public Works Department, January was a very snowy month. Their written report speaks to the level of effort they've made, which has been phenomenal. So I just want to commend them on behalf of Purnell. I don't believe he's on this meeting, although I do see one phone number I don't recognize. So Purnell, if you're there, feel free to speak up. And while I have the floor, I'm going to jump the gun, and my report is going to consist of an emoji. And happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I think much of what's in the packet should suffice as my report, and it's a pleasure to serve. Have a great Valentine's Day.
Thank you so much, and the brevity is appreciated. Next up is Finance, Treasurer Tonelli.
Sounds like brevity is appreciated, so I think I'll just I'll piggyback on Town Administrator McGrory's report and say happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Well, I do have to say my report is I want to say the normal financials, but we're 7 months in. If you look at it, you know, it's we're under budget for expenses overall still, which is good. We received our constant yield notice today from the state, and we'll talk when we will bring that to a future meeting, probably March, to talk about that and how it impact, because that's very timely for the budget process. I just want to say thank you to the mayor and council on behalf of the staff, or as much staff as I could vouch for the bonuses. That's very nice. You know, we are a small staff, but we get a lot of work done, and it's nice to you know, the mayor and council. I know you all appreciate them, but the monetary value, you know, is I think Councilmember Rout said, you know, it's very nice, you know, to recognize people along the way and everything. That pat on the back, because it's, you know, you always try and keep people. It's harder to recruit people right now. It's really hard to recruit really good people. So, and that's really appreciated. And that's about it. Go USA for the Olympics. So women are dominating. I love seeing that. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tonelli. That is a record, I just want to say.
I know. Try to keep
Yes,
it brief.
everyone give applause
I know.
to Treasurer Tonelli. We're going to pay for it, though, during the budget cycle, which is coming up shortly. No, just kidding. We always enjoy
No,
your
that's fine.
reports. Next up, Chief Collington with Public Safety. And Chief, I do want to call out the Fire Chief. Sumner is also on the line. So if you would allow him to tag team under Public Safety, I'd appreciate it. Hey there, Chief.
All right, it'd be my pleasure, man. So just so the public knows, I consider Chief Sumner my brother from another mother. You know, I mean, we have that bond, and you know, I just can't say it enough how much I appreciate his support of us, and then our support of him as well. But I also want to say happy Valentine's Day to an all-female council. And I just want to thank you for the continuity that you all have, and to get things done, the energy, the unity, as Councilmember McBride said in her opening prayer today, that we remain in unison. And I think that this speaks volume, that the public can say, if no one else says, I'm going to say, I definitely appreciate each and every one of you for the job that you do. We couldn't do our job without our council. So I just want to say, you know, congratulations, and I appreciate you, and happy Valentine's Day. My report is going to be really short, because I don't want to belabor the time, but we spoke about the new hires, and I want to say thank you to the team that helped us with the recruitment, with the background investigations. We brought on 4 individuals. This was not easy to do. This Wednesday and Thursday, we are doing interviews for other positions that we have vacancies for. So, you know, in addition to doing providing police services, these people, you know, our employees, they roll up their sleeves and they go to work each and every day. And that's what I can't thank them enough, lacing up their shoes and getting in the race with me as we pursue excellence. So we're not perfect, but we're getting there. And we couldn't do what we do without our residents, and without our colleagues, and definitely without our community. So I have my report. It has been uploaded to the website. So everyone, I did December and January. Both reports are put up there. And I will go over Sean's report because he will have my head tomorrow. So I will go over the code enforcement report. There were 4 bulk trash reminder notices that were issued for heavy trash at the curb. Um, Code enforcement removed 22 signs from poles, 15 from right of ways. Total signs removed for the year is 532. Thank you. There were 7 abandoned vehicles in residential areas, 4 in the business areas, 0 in apartment areas, none were impounded. I think this has changed because we did do a lot of work up on Teller Street. I had the stats pulled ever since we heard of the complaints. I put out an email and said for the next 2 weeks, every shift will spend time up on Teller Street until we can kind of mitigate the traffic complaints that we had up there. And I could say our new code enforcement, as Mr. Reinhardt stated, Ms. Tolliver, she hit the ground running. I saw her in dispatch. She was running stuff. I hear on the radio. She sounds so professional over the radio. She speaks like she's been doing this before. And you know, you wouldn't know that she just started this job a week ago. So, you know, kudos to her. Kudos to Mr. Reinhardt for his leadership and getting her set up for success in her new career. There were 108 abandoned vehicles and 8 of them were impounded. There were no grass. Obviously, it's wintertime. Code enforcement received 5 graffiti complaints, and they have mitigated those, taking care of that situation. So that concludes my report. And I just want to say a shout out to all of our staff that from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate the men and women of the Bladensburg Police Department and our town staff. I think that, as Mr. Tonelli said, we may be small, but we're mighty. And together, we're stronger. So good night and happy Valentine's Day. What's left of it?
Thank you so much, Chief. You thanked everyone else and expressed your gratitude for them, but please know how much we appreciate you and your leadership and just your awesome personality. At this time, we'll turn it over to Fire Chief from Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department, none other than Chief Dave Sumner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And good evening to you and the council, police chief, and the citizens. And again, happy Valentine's Day. For the last half hour or so, I've been getting some funny looks for being on the phone, so I can't make this too long. Like Chief said, working with Chief Collington has been absolutely amazing. I mean, he's a great guy to work for. And he says, brother from another mother, I gotta be careful because he actually knows my mom and has known my mom for a very long time. So I know if I do anything wrong, he's gonna tell her. So I gotta be careful with that. Real quick for things over at the Firehouse. So far for the year, we're at 612 calls already for the second week of February. It's 94 truck calls, 178 engine calls, and 340 ambulance calls. The training center is up and running. It's doing great. We have partnered with the University of Maryland for the Maryland Fire Rescue Institute. And again, all their leadership classes will be held there. That has already started. We have also partnered with a couple of the businesses. Unfortunately, they're outside of the town. I'll work with some of the town businesses to where they're coming in so they can hold their trainings and stuff because a lot of people are looking for a lot of locations, and they're happy to be able to come to our town and our fire department to use our facilities. And word's getting out about the partnership in the town. I always brag about the police department. I know there's supposed to be a couple businesses supposed to come see Kim and work on some things for the town website to see if they can get some advertising on there. To the town of Bladensburg's Facebook page. It's a good way to introduce Miles to everybody. That was really neat. I thank y'all for that. Miles, thanks y'all. So we're really happy on that. The COVID surge that took place in December and January, it put a huge strain on the healthcare system in our area. The county had put in extra ambulances to try to take care of the surge. And it was bad enough that residents in Prince George's County, some of them were actually getting transported by not our ambulance, but county ambulances across the Bay Bridge to hospitals there for care because the hospitals in our area were so overwhelmed. the county fire department did put out a safety message on their Facebook page. Hey, these are the reasons why to call 911, and these are the reasons to go to urgent care. So I encourage the citizens to go back to their Facebook page, and you can see that message. On another note, I've made the comment before of I'm not exactly a fan, or I'm not the biggest fan of the county fire chief, and I'm definitely not in her top 10 favorite. I'm not sure if the council is aware. Obviously, the mayor and police chief are aware of this. A couple weeks ago, we attended a joint training exercise with the police department. A video was released on that, not intentionally. It kind of got leaked out a little bit, of one of the fire department members being tased. It was a joint training. Everything was on the up and up. Both chiefs knew about it. Mayor knew about it. County fire chief wasn't too happy about an 18-second video that didn't depict the entire scene. It's kind of like looking at the news media when they show you 7 seconds and want somebody to be guilty, but they don't show you the 5 or 10 minutes leading to prior. Just so the council is aware, I was removed from operations by the county on January the 30th as the fire chief, pending an investigation. The mayor and police chief obviously stepped up, which I am so grateful for, and the fire department is extremely grateful for, to try to help out with the situation. The fire chief was so eager to try to nail me to a wall that she called the mayor at 7:30 in the morning to say, hey, your fire chief wasn't doing what he's supposed to be doing. The latest update I have right now is as of February the 8th. As far as the county is concerned, I was reinstated as a firefighter, but not to the rank of chief. However, within the fire department, I am still the elected fire chief. I was told that I will be facing a disciplinary review board. However, they have not provided me with any charges against me. The word conduct has been thrown around because I've operated outside of the views of the fire chief. I don't know how I operate outside the views of a fire chief when she doesn't tell us her views. So again, to the mayor and police chief, I would go on public record to say thank you for the continuous support on this. I am waiting to see what's going to happen. There are multiple chiefs, volunteer chiefs, multiple career deputy chiefs and assistant chiefs who did not understand why I am still removed when the facts showed that we did nothing wrong. I found out the other day that Tony Hughes, who is the emergency services deputy, the second in command of the fire chief, has no idea what is going on with my case because she is keeping it between herself and the Office of Professional Standards. So her second in command has no idea what's going on. And that doesn't go back to my previous statements of she's out to get me. I don't know what else does. So I just wanted to make sure the council was aware of this. Like I said, obviously the mayor and the police chief are aware of it. And I will keep you guys up to date as we get it. And that's all that I have, ma'am.
Thank you, Chief Sumner, and thank you for sharing it, because with the level of everything, it wasn't, my place or chiefs to share that. We wanted the council to hear that directly from you. So thank you for being transparent, and we will continue to restate the facts as they happen, to try to get, do whatever we can to offer support. And of course, if you need letters from the council or things that could help, just let us know. We're here to help and support and continue to be grateful for all that you and your staff do to serve our residents.
So one thing, ma'am, if I can real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Under the county's general order for volunteer disciplinary actions, once their administrative investigation is done, which they really don't have a policy for administrative investigation, once that is done and I am actually issued my charges, the county fire department can take anywhere from 7 to 180 days to hold a hearing to decide an outcome. And even then, if I go before the disciplinary review board and I am found not guilty of any charges or no wrongdoing, they send their recommendation to the fire chief. The fire chief has the final say. So they can say he did no wrong. She still can turn around and say, nope, he's guilty of these charges, or I think he did wrong. And unfortunately for us, there is no appeals process. The only way we could appeal it would be to go to the public safety director. And then, of course, if that happens, we'll be accused of going above the chain of command and further will happen.
Got it. So definitely keep us posted. I jotted down some notes. So need to give it some more thought, but I'll make sure I reach out to see if there's some other things we can do to help. But again, thank you, and thank you all for everything. I see a hand from Councilmember Brown.
Oh, yeah, Mayor, I'm sorry. I thought you were moving on to the next segment. I'm just trying to do my job, be the timekeeper.
Yep. Gotcha.
And our next section, we have 10 minutes for the whole.
Yep, for the whole thing. So we'll get that going at 2 minutes per council member, moving forward with Councilmember Blunt.
Did I do that right with the heart?
That's so cute. You gave us a heart.
Happy Valentine's to everyone, but I'm gonna forgo my my time, but I did a heart. Yes, okay.
Thank you. Thank you for all your good work. Councilmember Routes.
Thank you, Mayor James. I want to take this time. I will be submitting a written report. I want to take this time to remind each of my colleagues that mental wellness is important. We lost a colleague of ours, Mayor Ward of Hyattsville, and that really hit me because as an advocate of mental health, being a person who suffers from a mental illness, anxiety is what I suffer from, that really hurt that a colleague of ours took his own life. And so I want to take this time to thank each of my colleagues for, this job that we've signed up for. We are true public servants. And then I want to take the time to thank our staff members. Hopefully today you see how much we appreciate you with giving you a small token of our appreciation through monetary service. But these last 28 months, as Town Administrator McGrory outlined, has been tough on all of us. We have navigated these waters not knowing how we were going to turn out. But I just think that we all need to champion the minute that we survive, the hour, and really pull together to accomplish things. No, things are not perfect, but we can take this time to work together to create a path forward. Lastly, COVID is still here. Please wear your masks. I know there are mask mandates that are being lifted in other jurisdictions, but just think about the last time that we lifted masks and then there was surges. So just please get your boosters if necessary. And I want to publicly thank the Maryland GoVax team. Every time I call them to ask them to come to Bladensburg, they come. They are so professional. They care for our residents and our visitors who come, and they take their time. And so I'm very grateful for the partnerships that we've created at the state level. They go all around the state to initiate these vaccination clinics. And when we call on them, they come, and they love to be in our small but mighty facility. So thank you, colleagues, staff, residents, for entrusting me with the opportunity to serve this town. I yield.
Thank you for that report, Councilmember Rout. And next up on the agenda, we have Councilmember Brown, also from Ward 1.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I need to be brief. I'm up here being the timekeeper, huh?
Time's up. Sorry. No, kidding.
Sure, we should have every meeting Valentine's Day or Love Day, But I would like to say congratulations to all of our new hires, to all of the promotions, and just to all of the staff for just continuing to do a great job during this time, for trying time for all of us, really, and our families. And yes, COVID is still here, definitely. I mean, I'm going to continue to wear my mask, but please do your part as well. Stay safe. We want you to be safe and your families to be safe. I want to let you all know that the Maryland Legislative Body, the 2022 General Assembly has been in session for at least a good 4 weeks now, and they have looked over 1,600 bills that have been introduced. So if you want to know to learn more about any of the bills, go to the Maryland General Assembly's website, and that's www.mgaleg.maryland.gov. And then also, if you want to advocate for any bills, make sure that you call or email your senators or your delegates. But once again, I thank all the residents. Thank you all for tuning in with us on this Love Day. Appreciate you all, appreciate staff, and just wanted to say good night and have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you for that report, Councilmember Brown. Next up, we'll go to Ward 2 with Councilmember McBride.
Thank you, Mayor, and to the town council, thank you. I started out a little sour. I had some computer glitches, but nevertheless, I was glad to join. I want to say congratulations to all the new hires and to everyone. I want to piggyback off of Councilmember Rout and tell you thank you for wearing your mask and for for the vaccine, the Go vaccine that has come. I'm going through a thing, but with Parkview, but nevertheless, it will get done. But I'm just grateful. Please let us consider others when we go into different areas and we wear our masks. And it's important. I think about not only my life, but I think about how I might affect somebody else's life. And so be safe. Happy Valentine's Day. I love you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Councilmember McBride, and I will try to keep to 2 minutes or less. So good evening, everyone. Once again, as far as my report for the month of January, I have submitted that to the clerk and you can read it in detail. A few highlights are the town administrator and I did the sort of preliminary presentation and fact finding on the Walkable Watershed presentation. So thank you to the council for determining it's in the best interest of the town to move forward with that. Something I started last year, I call them roundtable talks with residents. Every couple of months, I do these virtual WebEx or Zoom meetings with residents to just connect with those who don't tune in, because as you know, we get the same pocket of people tuning in, but there's others who are just too busy, but we still want their input. And I thought it would be helpful to kind of share some of the recommendations or concerns that were brought up in our January call. Residents had definite concerns about the number of ATVs in town increasing. And so I definitely want to talk further with our public safety department on how we can address that, and also partner with Prince George's County because they currently have programs in place that can address that as well. Other concerns were the continuation of residents running stop signs through towns or through town in various parts, particularly during rush hour. And so in talking with residents, there are stop signs that have devices that can actually record you running the stop sign. And so again, Chief, this is on my list for you to talk about and see if this is something that we could bring back to the council after doing some research on some recommendations there. Another idea that came up was enlisting CEOs in different parts of the community. CEOs are community engagement officers. And so if we divide up the town and we enlist these CEOs, they would be responsible for being the key person to be on these meetings and take the information back to residents, whether it's just on their block or 2 blocks, getting the feedback and sharing that with us so we can be responsive and helping to continue moving things forward, like the parking issue that came up. So that was a great opportunity. Senator Cardin also hosted a municipal update to give local officials an update on the federal legislation. We are on the verge of some really good news, but right now the budget is still operating. The federal budget is still under continuing resolution. Once Congress passes that, we stand to get a very sizable earmark for a nice project that can definitely generate some economic development for the town of Bladensburg. The other thing I want to just call out is just the gratitude for life, health, and the ability to do what we do. It's sad that it's February 14th and we've already lost a handful of precious people from our community. So life is short. And with that in mind, I'm going to keep my report short and give folks time back in their evening, but just hug your loved ones while you can and don't take them for granted, nor the folks that you even work with or who you pass by. Be neighborly, look out for one another, take care of each other. So that concludes my January report. There are no other items on tonight's agenda. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. I didn't think anyone wanted to adjourn.
I know, like, we were trying to hit our buttons, get off mute.
Is there a
second.
second? Okay, seconded. Councilmember Blunt said that fast. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. We are adjourned. Good night. And again, happy
y'all.
Valentine's
Happy
Day.
Good night,
Valentine's Day.
everyone.
Good night.